Mm-hmm.
And there's someone I just want to bring out to ask you about, and that's Sai Babba. And I'm having a major discernment there. I'm not feeling him coming from the place of what I call unity consciousness or the law of the one.
I kind of look at it, there's the Sai and there's the Babba. And they're a little, there's a little difference between the two. I don't like to point fingers and name names, okay? It's not important. What I try to do is give you enough information that you can figure that out for yourself. Because all that will do is if I start naming names, particularly on videos that people are they're going to go who knows where, it's going to create counterattack where they're going to try to attack the work. I don't care if they call me names. I've been doing that ever since I opened my mouth to teach this stuff. But when they go after the material and try to shred it because I antagonize them, that only creates a resistance factor where more people are going to say, oh, I heard that's not good stuff, so they won't even look. So I don't name names. Now, where Sai Babba is concerned, I happen to, on the higher levels myself, know that matrix. The matrix itself, the larger identity, is in the light. He has a contract to help people, draconian souls, to get to their next level. But there has, from what I have heard, at one period, been some field interference. Where that has gone, I'm not sure, because I was very fond of Sai Babba myself. There was a resonance there because I understood him as someone I knew in ancient times that was working on trying to help the draconian souls that are trying to evolve into the light. There are a lot of people out there that are good guys. Some of them are teaching stuff that's not as liberal as this. They're much more rigid and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Because if you happen to be in what's called a redemption contract situation, which is if you happen to be a draconian soul or an Anunnaki soul that has a lot of DNA code distortion, reversed running DNA codes is what is characteristic of those matrices. They cannot ascend with reverse matrix DNA codes. So there are very strident protocols that they have to follow, and it's called a redemption contract, that will allow them to correct their DNA. It's called DNA bioregenesis, to be able to correct it enough where they can begin to be self-sufficient in being able to guide their own evolution to the light. So people like Sai Babba and various others are here. They're running more guru-type things, where follow me kind of thing. That's not really meant for human consciousness. Human consciousness isn't meant to play sheep. It's meant to be the shepherd. All right, but there are people in human bodies that don't have human souls that need help. So with Sai Babba, you can trust your heart, but you trust your heart after you clear your field. Right. Okay, there's a lot in the New Age movement that goes there. Oh, just open your heart. You can tell by the heart. There's a lot of this really it's almost sickening. There's a sweetness to it there's a falseness to the sweetness that's sometimes promoted with this idea. You can tell things with your heart, but if you happen to have astral body implants that you don't know about, you'll get the reads that they want you to. So to be able to trust yourself.
There, I've seen the shadow there.
Yeah.
And watched really what does he create in terms of his people.
Right.
They've given their power away. We have lots of clients that
have
to do all sorts of cord cutting to get them to clean
That's
up.
The stuff I don't endorse it personally, but I mind my own business when it comes to draconians, helping draconians go into the light kind of stuff. It's not...
That puts it in a good perspective, though.
Yeah. I wouldn't... There's a lot of masters out there these days, and some of them are various shades of gray. They're not all dark or all light. They're like maybe medium dark and they're trying to get lighter, or sometimes they fall off the wagon, kind of like a person with a drinking problem, They're really good for 6 months, but then they just slip up and go get, blasted. Well, sometimes it works that way with the people who call themselves masters out there that are teaching. So really what's important and what we teach and will always teach, I don't care if I'm talking to a person who's a draconian soul that wants to go into the light or an Anunnaki, I am not going to underestimate their ability. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, and I'm not going to give them the baby treatment. Oh, just follow me, hold my hand, and I'll get you there. Or, Archangel this or Archangel that'll get you there. We'll teach you how. I don't care who you are. So we don't endorse the just hand your power over to me and we'll fix it for you stuff. But because of that, there's a challenge to the way this information is taught. It becomes your responsibility of what you do with it. There's no going back, well, this didn't work, how come I can't have this, can you make this happen for me? No, but you can make it happen for you. That's the response you get here. A lot of people don't like that. They want somebody to fix it for them. They want a quick fix pill, they want a quick fix, hand my power over to you, then I feel safe. We try to build a situation of feeling safe within your own power, and you will do that by progressively learning, first of all, what your parts are, as far as your interdimensional structure and how your consciousness works in the body. Second of all, how to protect the integrity of that. to realize you have a Christos level of your own identity that's at dimension 12 that is not in polarity. D12 is where polarity stops and what you call unity consciousness starts. And it comes right down to the physics. That is where the conditions of physics that create electromagnetism no longer operate the same way. So you don't have electromagnetic polarity in the physics once you get to D12 and higher. But from D11 on down, you do. That means you will have both extremes and everything in between from D11 on down. Once you start to understand the structure that you're dealing with as a consciousness that's manifest within a framework, once you see the framework, it isn't that hard. So as far as, I'm not going to do naming names, just so I took that one just to, I don't know why I did, but I did. I can't even justify it, but I did. I would prefer that you not ask me to do that, to say, oh, well, there's that. There are a few names that I have recently named because it's important to do that, because they're major mind control matrices that are aggressively going after people at this point. I will rename them now without a blink of an eye. One of them is the Archangel Michael Matrix. Okay? It is a mind control program. It's not even a person. It's a mind control program that's being run through the Nibiru Dadic crystal grid from parallel Earth, beamed into the airwaves over here, and channels are picking it up. Okay? They are huge. They are giving grid technology that runs the grids in reverse, of course. They are giving implant technology where people think they're doing healing, but they're actually implanting other people. So it is a very dangerous matrix, and we kept quiet with it for a long time until it was decided whether or not it was going to be active fourth dimensional warfare. That was up to them. See, we're in a situation that we'll talk about more of the politics of it tomorrow in tomorrow's workshop. We've talked about some of it before, the people who've been to some of the workshops. In January in Florida, we talked about the politics of the situation, and we did a little bit in New York recently. We'll kind of recap that for the people who missed it, so you can understand the framework we're in. But right now, as far as who to look out for, Archangel Michael and anybody that endorses him. So watch who endorses him. It's telling you something. Okay? Galactic Federation is another one. They used to be part of the Guardian Alliance, so I have no qualms about talking about them. I have nothing against the author who's bringing through their information. However, I do know who they are because they were part of our organization and they turned. And they're running the Anunnaki One World Order Dominion agenda at this point. So these are two major organizations that have huge movements globally that are recruiting people to do their dirty work for them. People that they look at as expendable, but those people don't know that that's how they're being looked at. If we know this and begin to, in a quiet way, spread that, there are still some people who are worshiping these mind control things that are still not totally sucked into them, that if you give them enough information, they might say, ooh, oh dear, really? Uh-oh. Teach them the Maharic Seal. The Maharic Seal technique is something we'll cover today. A lot of you are familiar with it if you've been to any of the workshops, because it's like one of those things you get sick of hearing. It's almost like the Pledge Allegiance to the flag when you're in school, Pledge Allegiance to the flag. We don't do it for the same reason, though. The Maharic Seal technology is a scalar technology, like any of the bioregenesis techniques that we work with. What it does is temporarily stimulate activation of the D12 subharmonics in your DNA strands. So it creates a D12 frequency pillar in your biofield. And it can last from anywhere from 4 to 24 hours when you first start, and the more you use it, the more you're able to sustain that frequency. You have to use it repeatedly. That's why we do it a lot. Because until you can get the DNA clear enough, because right now our whole race has distortions in the DNA template because of the planetary grid distortions. If you can get the DNA clear enough, you progressively build the ability to activate your strands. Once you activate them, eventually, when you have full 12-strand activation, you will have a natural Maharic Seal in your biofield. You will be immune to interdimensional manipulation and also to viruses and all sorts of other things that get people here. But in the meantime, you're not going to get 12-strand activation overnight. The grids can't hold a biology right now. One person here with 12-strand activation would literally implode the planetary grids. So all these people running around the New Age movement saying, I have 12 strands activated. Oh, I have 45 strands activated. It's like, first of all, ask them to define a strand. They kind of go, in our course, we take you right into the template. We show you the 12 strands, we show you the 12 acceleration codes, the 12 base codes in each strand. We show you the fire codes between the strands that you have to fire in order to let strands braid so transmutation can take place. We give you the details because we have them. the people that are walking around there thinking they have 12 strands activated and gloating with the fact that they don't have to do any more spiritual work because they're already in Christ consciousness and have their 12 strands, they're missing something. And if it can be gently pointed out to them, it will help them. Because right now it's a very classic trick that's being played, where you tell somebody they have it already, they can't tell the difference whether they do or not. It's easier to believe them because you want to have it. So, okay, I have it, so I don't have to worry about looking for it, right? Don't have to do any more work, don't have to learn anything more. I just have it. This is what's happening with the New Age movement stuff. We get all of the information on DNA. It would take me a week just to teach the stuff we have on DNA. So what I try to do is integrate enough of it into each program that we're doing so you get a round-up understanding of how it basically works. We have the Kathara healing program that gets into more of how the body structure works in relation to dimensional structure. You learn about the DNA template, its connection to the chakras, to something called the crystal seals, to the Kathara grid. You learn how the parts are connected. And so that's a different workshop, but it's there. So if there's blanks that you have after I talk about things today, if certain things don't make sense to you, realize there's more data on that subject available. So you can fill in those gaps. It's not that the paradigm that I'm teaching doesn't make sense, because I tell you it does. It's more congruent than anything I have seen coming from anybody else. And it's not my program. I'm a speaker. I simply share the information. It's information I've learned in other incarnations. And it's information that's stored on something called the cloister doratura plates. The cloister doratura plates are metal discs. They're big enough where you can hold them in your hand, but they're not really big. They're kind of shaped like two pyramids put together, but rounded like two cones stuck wide ends together. And they're made out of a silvery metallic metal. They were made many thousands of years ago by the Maharaji of Sirius B in Density 2, and they were given to the humans on this planet. They were given as a set of 12 discs that went with a set of 12 shields. The shields are hubcap-shaped things. They're a little bigger, and you set the disc in the center of the shield, and certain things happen. Now, first I'll talk about the discs for a minute, because I want you to understand where this information is coming from, and how old it is, and why it's humans' heritage to have it. The discs themselves have several purposes. They're radiosonic and they're radiophotonic, which means they can transmit and receive and transduce both sound and light waves from the interdimensional spectrum. They are, in one context, they are storage data containers, like mega memory banks. They have the records from the times before humans were created. They hold the history records of this time matrix, and particularly the ones that were given to us on Earth hold the ones particularly related to Earth, to the creation of the human species, why it was created. They hold huge amounts of data on history, on technical sacred science knowledge. Some of it is just mind-blowing. I can't even translate it. It's just huge, just like the brain isn't big enough to process that kind of mathematical computation. This is what major grid mechanics gets into. It has these plates, the discs, hold huge amounts of data that at certain times, since they were first given to humanity, they would be returned, and the information would be translated. There would always be 3 persons chosen, and they were called Emerald Covenant speakers, cloister doratura plate speakers. They would be chosen, and they would be trained in remote translation of the information from the discs. There was a time when the discs were literally on planet in the temples, but ever since the 208,216 BC crash of the grids during the stellar activation cycle, it was no longer safe to keep them on the planet, because every time they were kept on the planet, they were raided by fallen angelic races or by the Illuminati human races, because they not only were information storage containers. The discs worked with the shields, the larger elements. There were 12 shields. The shields, when activated with the discs, when placed on the 12 Templar Q sites, the Stargate activation sites, allowed those using them to have manual access over opening and closing Earth's 12 Stargates. So these were very, very valuable little tools that were here. And since this place has literally been raided and invaded repeatedly since the crash of the grids in the last stellar activation cycle, and particularly since the events that took place in 25,500 BC, it has not been safe to have the discs and the shields together. However, they couldn't be taken fully off Earth. The shields couldn't be, or they wouldn't work anymore. If you took them out of the planetary energy field, it would recode them, so they wouldn't work on the gates anymore. So they had to be kept on planet, but hidden. The shields are still here. The discs have been recently collected, finally, because two of them, for many thousands of years, fell into the hands of the Illuminati races that were being guided by the fallen angelics. That's how they got so much control here.